welcome to the Florist Garden. I know it's been a while. The truth is, I have not been doing well emotionally, but I'll be okay. Anyways, as you guys very well know, The Court of the Dead just came out, another book about Nico D'Angelo and Will Salas, and I was super excited for it. Like, I immediately went to Barnes & Noble right after work before heading to choir practice, which is like an hour drive because traffic in Phoenix sucks. But yes, I got the book, and this is going to be a reading vlog. So, got my book, got my trusty highlighter, because I like highlighting cool stuff that Nico does, or cool stuff that he says. So, yes. And while I was at Barnes & Noble, I saw that they were giving away free Camp Half-Blood pendants. I love it so much, even though I actually hate the color orange, but I love the pendant. But it's okay, because it's Camp Half-Blood. Okay, yeah. I've also got my trusty Trials of Apollo bookmark. I lost the word for a second. Bookmark with God Apollo on one side and Lester Papadopoulos on the other side. So, let's get started. Oh, I forgot to put my timer. He wasn't a time traveler, just a shadow traveler. Have you ever actually seen a traveling circus, Nico? You'd fit right in. The demigod rolled his eyes. Please, they couldn't handle me. Same, Nico. He still couldn't believe there was someone in the world who always looked so delighted to see him. How had he gotten so lucky? Guys, I can't. I'm feeling. Loneliness was the smallest of the cacodemons, and though Nico wouldn't admit it out loud, it was probably his favorite, maybe because he'd spent so much time with that feeling. My poor Nico. Mr. D, Dionysus. I love him. So Will's trying to get Nico's attention, but Nico's a little spaced out, and Will said, "Hey, Lord of Darkness." And Nico finally looks up. So Will and Nico are in Camp Half-Blood and they need to get to Camp Jupiter. Nico wants to shadow travel, and Chiron says, "One of these days you may enter the shadow world and not be able to come back." No. No. Nico and Will fell into shadow. The sensation was like flying blind at light speed through a sleet storm. As someone who gets motion sickness on planes and cars when I'm not driving, no. Aww. They got to Camp Jupiter, and Nico is hugging Hazel. He pulled away and discovered Grief sitting on his shoulder, its tiny appendages stretched toward Hazel as if it too wanted a hug. I mean, I know it's a demon of grief, but that's such a cute mental image of this little demon just like, give me a hug too. Oh my god, so cute. ground rumbled beneath Nico's feet and tiny cracks appeared in the dirt. Skeletal fingers began wriggling upward. Without meaning to do it, he had started to raise the dead. Will put a calming hand on his shoulder and Nico relaxed. The dirt stopped trembling. The cracks closed. I love when he uses his powers, even unintentionally. Well, this was an interesting quote. The term monsters, you must agree, is rather, what do you call it? Loaded. Ever since we were first called that, we were given no choice but to be monsters. There were the occasional rebels, but they were rare exceptions. The rest of us, we were used, manipulated, enslaved to the whims of those who wished only for violence and chaos. Just something to sit with. Interesting. So, this got kind of political. No complaints. It's how I learned to be empathetic and compassionate towards others. So Nico's dreaming, and a voice says, "You cannot escape your nature, son of Hades." It was too cold, too spiteful, even for a daemon. In Nico's experience, only mortals were capable of that much malice. I mean, when monsters, which are now called mythics in this book, are considered more nice than humans. I mean, to quote Dean Winchester, monsters I get, humans no. I was paraphrasing. The Minotaur is now in Camp Jupiter, kind of living there for the moment. And Hazel said, "Because I've been judged unfairly in my life, I see myself in Astarion and his group." Astarion is the Minotaur. "What's wrong with that?" Will asked. "We demigods are used to being judged. We should be willing to empathize with others." So, along with the Minotaur living in Camp Jupiter, we now have an Empusa named Ariel. And if you guys can recall, an Empusa is like a vampire, but with different legs. One is usually the form of a donkey, and the other one is a bronze leg. They're also extremely pretty, and Will is checking out Ariel. Nope, Nico stepped between the two of them. "Will, no bisexual chaos allowed today." Nico getting jealous is so cute. We met a Blemier named Johan, and Johan is asking if they brought honey for some tea. "Honey?" Nico stammered. "Yes," Will asked. "Yes," Johan asked. I can't. All of the mythics have been rejected for being different amongst their own groups, which sucks. Believe me, that sucks. This group of mythic misfits needed a home, and the world was conspiring not to let them have one. Nico had lived that life. I've been reading for an hour and a half now, and I'm only on page 64. I've gotten slower at reading. But I'm going to take a small break. Nico would have to prove he could do a morning run without falling on his face. I don't run. Ever. I'm like Homer Simpson. I take like 2 steps and then fall to the ground. Nico's sleeping again, and whoever's talking to him in his dreams said, "Go home, Nico D'Angelo. Keep aiding and abetting criminals, and we'll find you guilty as well. One of my favorite things to say is legality does not equal morality. The Mythics are talking about what they would like to do around Camp Jupiter and New Rome. Quinoa, oh my goodness, I forgot the word for it. Quinoa, the grain spirit, and I'm blanking on the word right now. He said, I want to work with kids. What? Cried Orcus, horrified. Why would anyone want to work with children? I'm a teacher. I work with kids. So half of me laughs because there are days where these kids get so out of hand that I'm like, why did I consider this job again? But at the same time, the kids get to me on an emotional level. And if any of my students are watching this, forget I said that. Okay? I'm still the mean teacher from school. Quinoa bared his fangs at the griffin, demonstrating just how cute and cuddly he would be with little ones. You joking? Kids love me. We see eye to eye. So Quinoa wants to be a teacher. I don't want to criticize, but you mortals are absolute fertilizer when it comes to gardening. Adults just don't want to hear it. You gotta start with the younger generation. Teach them to respect the earth and whatnot. That's why you guys call it nursery school and kindergarten, right? Nico was pretty sure that's not why kindergarten was called kindergarten. But he also didn't want to get punched in the face by a pseudo grain. Oh my goodness. That made me laugh so bad. And Orcus is a griffin, tiny little griffin. So cute, just the way he's been described. I love him because, griffins are part cat, and I love cats. So the reason that Orcus got exiled from his family is because he doesn't want to have children. And honestly, I relate. I don't want kids. I work with kids, but I don't want any of my own, and that's okay. So I'm adopting Orcus now. We're gonna live together, have fun. I'll get to give him back scritches. Carpos. I didn't just read it, it came to my head. Quinoa is a Carpos. Johann the Blemier and Quinoa the Carpos were just taking a walk through Camp Jupiter, minding their own business, and two campers decided to follow them, and one threw an apple at Johann. Nico's vision went red. Knock it off, he yelled, marching toward the demigods. Would you like me to tell your centurion what you're doing? He must have looked pretty scary emerging from the shadows with his army of mini demons. The campers' eyes widened. They turned and fled. I don't like bullies. I don't tolerate bullies. So Nico scaring the bejeepers out of those two bullies, I love it. Still about the scene where Nico scared off the bullies. Anger and disappointment swirled within him, anger at seeing the same thing he'd gone through himself repeating itself here, and disappointment that he hadn't done more to stop it. Nico is talking through Dionysus through an iris message. As much as I tease you about that whole misty magic obsession, mythomagic, I've already forgotten what you just said. Welcome to Camp Half-Blood, Peter Johnson. It's Percy Jackson. That's what I said. Continuing with what Dionysus says to Nico, you came to us primed to believe in the world of demigods, gods, and monsters. Whenever you were presented with mythical creatures, you always accepted them, no matter how terrifying they might have been. For some young demigods, however, it's not so easy. They're raised to believe the world is one way. Then they come to Camp Half-Blood and have to contend with the truth that doesn't fit what they already know. Camp Jupiter is much the same, if not more difficult. I still want to know how you're feeling, Mr. D pressed. You broke down crying a few minutes ago, then you started talking about other people instead of yourself. That sounds like me. Asterion accidentally knocked over an entire table full of breakfast food, like eggs and cheese, the tortillas, and most importantly, the chorizo. I'm sorry, but I would have fought Asterion over that chorizo. Okay, that's like my go-to ever since I was a kid. I get very defensive over my chorizo. Nico jumped into the shadow of a 14-wheeler. Guys, my anxiety just like shot up. It's actually polite to set boundaries for yourself. You can tell someone no, and it doesn't make you rude. It keeps mentioning that Nico was born in the past century. And if I'm remembering correctly, according to what I found on the internet, he was born in 1924. And Percy Jackson's birthday is in 1993, which was also in the previous century. And with Will being just a couple years younger than Percy, that would have meant that Will was also born in the 1990s, which was also in the past century. So it doesn't make sense that they keep seeing that Nico was born in the past century. Yes, it was 100 years ago, but all of them were born in the 1900s. 3 hours of reading, and I'm on page 129, almost halfway. I'm going to stop here for some lunch because I'm hungry. And we're back. So the Romans are still being jerks and bullies to the Mythics, and it was all Nico could do to control his rage and not summon an army of skeletons to kick some Roman posteriors. Do it. Because they are a bunch of jerks. He'd been known as many things over the years. Death Boy, the Ghost King, grumpy little ball of darkness. Inherent in all of them, he was different. He was not like anyone else. He certainly had no aversion to being associated with darkness. He loved that part of himself. But sometimes being on the outside was hard. It made it easy for him to empathize with Asterion and his friends who had been rejected by their own kind and were now struggling in a world that couldn't see them as anything but monsters. Nico wanted to bridge that gap. He wanted to show the Romans and Mythics that it was possible to choose something better than fear and mistrust. As Hazel puts it, Nico's and Will's interactions are so sickeningly cute. Ugh. I'm feeling. If somebody's acting suspicious, I'm not going to say who in this video, but I will mention it when I reread this and do a review. But, yeah. All of my alarms are going off right now. Like, don't trust this person. Okay, I was wrong, but still, there was like a lot of stuff involving this character that felt really suspicious. Semele drifted behind Nico, her smoke curling around the Legion's Eagle standard. I have existed for 3 millennia, she said. Anytime someone says they are putting the world to rights, they are not. Nico headed out of the headquarters, his puffs trailing after him. From behind them, Will laughed. What? Nico demanded. You're like the Pied Piper of darkness. Nico rolled his eyes, though deep down, he kind of loved that idea. Okay, the Pied Piper really is a dark story originally, but just an actual Pied Piper of darkness sounds so much cooler than the original tale. The Legion had come together at last and decided the Mythics weren't so bad. All it had taken was a common enemy that was even scarier. That's a lesson that a lot of people need to learn. Nico, Will, and Hazel have to leave, and Nico doesn't want to take the puffs with him in case something goes wrong and he doesn't want to put the puffs in danger. So he told the puffs, you gotta stay here at Camp Jupiter. Frank will look after you. And now all of the puffs are pouting like a bunch of little toddlers, and it's so funny and cute. Nico, Hazel, and Will reached their destination, and when Will opened up his backpack to grab something for Hazel, all of the puffs jumped out. Oh my goodness, I love the demons. They are so cute. I want some. Oof. Ooh. I am officially on the part of the Court of the Dead, and Astarion is on trial. All of the judges are wearing masks, just for a reference. And they were trying to call him the Minotaur, and he said, that's not my name. If you're going to address me, call me Astarion, which is my name. Otherwise, don't talk to me at all. So, of course, they took offense to that, but called him Astarion anyways. And before they continue with the court proceedings, Astarion wanted to know who they were. And the judges were shocked and like, why would we do that? It is only fair. Astarion raised his voice just loud enough to drown him out. No respectable judges would hide behind masks, would they? Just like no respectable people would wear masks while attacking people on the street. Guys, the judges, the first one was Tantalus. Like, why is he back? Second judge, Mary Tudor, also known as Bloody Mary. Okay, but seriously, what gives her the right to judge people? And the third judge is a friend of Theseus's. His name is Perithuus. I mean, my reaction to this is the same as everyone else's in the book. Who? Before Nico could think up a plan, the ghost with the tricorn hat flew at his face. How dare you interrupt this proceeding? Do you hate justice? Nico grabbed him by the throat, which shut the ghost up. It had probably been centuries since a mortal had been able to make physical contact with him. I'm the Ghost King, Nico said. You don't scare me. The spirit howled as he dissolved into smoke. Nico's just so cool and I love him so much. I don't like this book anymore. The judges, as awful as they are, do have one good point. There is no longer any real justice in the world. I don't like agreeing with them, but that's the only thing I agree on. Guys, they're coming after Hazel because she escaped death. You know, honestly, I'm surprised that that little plot hole did not come and bite us in the butt a lot sooner. How dare Hazel try to make people live in harmony? Outrageous. Will Solace, you're my hero. I want to give this boy a hug. This deserves a highlight. Will turned on the nearest skeletal guard, grabbed the shaft of his spear, and screamed in the skeleton's face, blasting the guard with such intense light that he blew apart in a bleach white swirl of dust. I mean, before Will was adorable sunshine boy, but he's amping up here. He's becoming. I can't say the word because this is still a child friendly channel, mostly. He's becoming super awesome, to put it G rated. No! I just passed the halfway mark. I've still got still have a lot to go. Please, please tell me that this is not going the same way as the Burning Maze. No, 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 that did not happen. I mean, I'm living in denial because of Jason, but I'm gonna say this is a trick because I can't handle this right now. 6.5 hours. I need to take a small break because my emotions are getting to me. Okay, let's see if I can manage to finish this book today, or I might finish it tomorrow morning because it is currently 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to finish it today. Guys! Everything's fine. We're fine. Everything's cool. Again, I absolutely despise the judges in the Court of the Dead because they are all horrible jerks, to put it nicely. But as Pirithous said, no one is above justice. No one is above the law, not even those of the highest power. So Nico is trying to get some of the campers at Camp Jupiter to use the cacodemons. It's kind of hard to explain without giving away too many spoilers. But Nico said, best explanation I can give you, they show you the truth. The truth? Lucius inched closer to the pack of puffs. What does that mean? This, said Savannah. She reached down and scooped up Grief. It snuggled against her and tears began streaming down her face. Lavinia frowned. Are you okay? I am, Savannah said, her lower lip quivering. I'm also sad. I miss my parents so much. Ever since I've come to camp, I've been doing everything I could to ignore that feeling. But when I'm holding this puff, I can't run from the truth. I see my feelings so clearly, and that makes everything easier to accept. It's sort of like, I don't know, like when I'm denying my feelings, I'm using the mist against myself, and the puff doesn't let me do that. She knit her eyebrows. That probably doesn't make any sense. So, what's going on here is that they are using the puffs as shadow work. And I know that sounds scary, ominous, devil work. It's really not. Shadow work is when you are facing the darker parts of yourselves and accepting it in order to move on to being a better person. It's actually something that I practice a lot. And I really enjoy that Rick Riordan and Mark Oshiro, I hope I pronounced his last name correctly, are putting this in a child, um, I lost the word, child-focused book, because yes, this is intended for kids, but it's a way for the kids to access their own emotions and dark feelings, even if it's sadness, loneliness, anger, whatever. They are giving kids a way to do shadow work. And as someone who works with kids, it that's great. That's amazing. Because I see so many hurt, scared, lonely kids when I work. And sometimes they just need to know that someone actually cares and they're not alone. They want us to remain the same forever. They don't understand that every living thing has the capacity to change. Ariel nodded. That's the problem, isn't it? If we try to do something different from what we were destined to do at birth, they punish us for it. Like society constantly punishing others who are different. Guys, we just met Will's mom. Naomi Solis was going into full nobody touches my kid mode. Mm-mm. No. I mean, we've seen Sally Jackson fight monsters during the Battle of Manhattan, so I'm kind of scared now. Nico just prayed to Hades for help, and Hades showed up, and now they're hugging, and I want to hug Hades. Aww. Especially in the TV show, the Percy Jackson TV show, that actor they got for Hades, loved him. Pirithous' fatal flaw is self-importance. He believes he is much grander, more powerful, and more deserving than he actually is. He is a fool who expects the world to cater to him, and he complains of injustice when it does not. Fools can be dangerous, especially if they convince others of their importance. Look at what Pirithous has achieved with this court of the dead. Even minor gods have flocked to his cause, convinced that he can order things better than the Olympians. Pirithous believes everyone who does not behave in a way he deems proper deserves permanent punishment. The only exception, of course, is himself. Honestly, I know way too many people that fall into that category. Wait, Pirithous did something that made Hades angry. I just remembered this old story. one that actually centers around Hades a bit, and the heroes of the story did something to make him mad, but I'm wondering if this is the same story I'm thinking about, or the same story that Hades is angry about. Ah. If it is, then Pirithous definitely deserved his punishment in the underworld when he died. I believe what Savannah is missing is closure. I can't say she'll get justice because this world is so complicated. The Empusai who took her parents could go their entire existence without ever knowing the pain they caused. But every living soul passes through my realm, and if I have seen anything that begins to take such pain away, it is honesty, empathy, and care. I mean, closure would have been nice. It would have hurt less. But not everybody gets closure. Life isn't a book. I mean, if Hades showed up in my bedroom and, like, said that he was willing to give me a hug because I asked for it, I don't think I'd ever let him go. Hmm. I decided a while back I'm a child of Hades. I'm gonna call him Papa Hades now. So it says here that Hazel's mom, her name was Marie, and I remember from the last book, The Sun and the Star, Nico's mother, her name was Maria. Marie and Maria. I'm seeing a connection here. Hades has a type, besides Persephone. But yeah, Hades has a type. Two women with nearly the same name. I was judged for who my mother was, for what I looked like, for not knowing my father. It's been the same thing over and over my whole life. So many people don't seem to want to get to know who I really am. They decide who I am for me. That's a common problem, especially those last two sentences. So many people don't seem to want to know, don't, so many people don't seem to want to get to know who I really am. They decide who I am for me. Why do people do that? We have the rest of our lives to choose our paths, to be in community with others, to spread joy and love. It is not fair to hold yourself to a standard that is impossible. We are not perfect, and we can never be perfect. As for this cage, I believe all cages are meant for breaking. As the great Hannah Montana once said, nobody's perfect. I gotta work it again and again till I get it right. So Naomi Solace is easily distracted. I wouldn't be surprised if she also had ADHD. Not in a demigod way, but like in a normal human way. In the equation, Naomi Solace plus Apollo, Apollo had contributed the calmer half of Will's personality. And we all know how much of a diva Apollo can be, so that's really saying something. Frank scowled. I'd like to avoid this scenario and also not have a book written about us. Last I counted, this is book 25 of the Percy Jackson, well, not Percy Jackson, but Rick Riordan universe. And that's not including the books of short stories. Oh my gosh, guys, oh my gosh. Ah, the story I was thinking about earlier, that one where, oh shoot, Perithus made Hades mad. It's the exact story I was thinking of. Ha! No, it's no wonder he was punished. Yes, he definitely deserves that punishment. I have been reading for 8 hours and 6 minutes and 38 seconds, and I have 98 pages left to go. Okay, I can do this. He despised what Pirithous was doing and how he viewed the world. No one here deserved to be imprisoned simply for choosing how they wanted to live. So, without giving away spoilers, Hazel can see what Pirithous looks like without the mist. His hair was actually a toupee. Oh my goodness. Someone who already reminds me of Pirithous personality-wise came to mind, especially at the part with his hair being a toupee. Oh my goodness. Shots fired. Pirithous pointed his broken gavel at Nico. Attack him. If you believe at all in law and order, destroy these criminals and you will be pardoned. Join our winning side. Pretty sure I've heard that in real life before. Guys, we met Dionysus' mother. I love her. Ten hours, 5 minutes, and 57 seconds. Read it all in one day. I will reread this again for a book review, and I promise I do have a lot of books to review and film. Even though I haven't been feeling well emotionally, I've still been keeping up with reading books. Just not the filming part. Plus, I also want to give other fans a chance to read this before I post up spoilers. Because posting up spoilers of brand new books that are just released, so not cool. That's how I found out about The Burning Maze. Anyways, I will see you next time. Bye! Nothing's what it seems. Nothing's what it seems.